billions, billion, trillions, trillion, million, billion, 400 billion suns, billion, trillion, billion, trillions of orbiting snowballs, billion, trillions, million, billion, billion, millions, million, billion, millions, billion, 4 billion-year-old tree. Tens of billions. I have trillions, billions, billion, trillions, billion, billions, million, trillion, millions, millions, billion years, 100 million. It took nature hundreds of millions of years to evolve a bacterium, and billions of years to make a grasshopper. Billions, trillion, billion kilometers from the sun. Saturn 1.5 billion, Uranus 3 billion, and Neptune 4.5 billion kilometers. Billions, billion other galaxies, each of which contains something like 100 billion, tens of billions of years in the far future. Billion of them. Millions or billions, billions of G's. Billions, tens of millions of degrees. Billions, quadrillion, billions, millions, billions, million, millions, billions, trillion, billion, trillion, million, billion, trillion, millions, trillion, billions, billions,
What up, people? Hello. All right. Let me know if I'm coming in too hot or just right. I invited a few people on. We're waiting on Angelica and possibly Stuart. Oh, Mati Schitz. All right. Alla meine Freunde. Yeah. And we're still waiting. If anyone wants to jump on, let me know. I'm not going to have anyone come in. I'm not going to entertain any Globers today. So just don't feel like it. Don't feel like arguing. But here you go. Here's the link if you want to jump in. But we are supposed to be being joined here shortly. Hopefully, Angelica is definitely coming. I haven't heard back from Stuart. And yeah, let's give it a second. I dropped a new video, dropped 2 videos this past week. Oh, here we go. See Claw. Hello. No audio. Well, while we're waiting on that.
Yeah, so I was wondering what the subject matter was today.
Don't know. Just roundtable, whatever anyone wants to talk about, whatever I see coming in. What's up?
I said groovy. Hey, yeah. I will mention, I mentioned before, I kind of did some deep diving into your videos.
Yeah.
And really like them. Good videos. Appreciate it. One of your videos, it was like top 10 or 15, like things that shouldn't be able to happen in NASA or something like that. And one of them you showed the Gemini flight, or the so-called Gemini flight, where the guy turns his head.
Yep.
But if you've noticed, you can. I played with that video several years ago, and I posted a video about this too. If you speed it up, you'll see that the background goes in circles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you have that in your video and I missed it?
I didn't mention it. I'm aware of it. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of stuff I left out. I could have put in, like, it was just a matter of time, right? How much stuff I could talk about on each video, or how many different things, right? But yeah, I am aware that it goes in circles. I've got plenty of videos just on that content.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It looks so fake. It must be real.
Right. Yeah. Well, glad you could join us. Thanks that you like the videos. That's all I'm focused on, is cranking out videos. I'm just about ready to drop another. I always get interrupted I get pulled into little private debates, or doing little research, right? Because people, there's so many trolls that come in. It's like the more, this is all new to me, right? I'm figuring out how to do all this, but but my channel's slowly been growing, and the more people that pay attention, the more trolls that come into my channel. And it's frustrating because at first I don't know how to handle it. And I'm trying to make up, it's like having a little country, so to speak, and you have to implement little rules, and you want to be fair with your rules, but ultimate fairness it's hard, because there's two sides to every story. But we'll come back to that in a minute. I think did you try to come on last week and something went, I can't remember. It seems like you jumped on, but your audio wouldn't work.
I only came on the one time.
And you go by now, is it Claw, C-Law? Do you have a name you want to share, or anything?
Yeah, you can just call me Claw.
Claw. All right.
Yeah.
You want to share anything about your background, or you just kind of want to just join in the conversation, kind of leave it at a little ominous?
Yeah. I'll tell you what kind of brought me over to the light, the flat, was back in 2015. I started seeing these videos emerge, and so I was up in Chicago, and I thought I'll take my camera to the other side of the lake, to it's called Michigan City, Indiana, and there's a beach there, and it's like 37 or 39 miles across the lake. And so I got out there early in the morning. I thought, I'm going to see if there's a curvature here, right? Because I already looked, I already did some calculations. It should have been like 950 feet of curvature. And when I got there like 4 a.m. in the morning, 4:30. I wanted to get there before sunlight, and it was kind of nice. There were people out there, kids who had stayed up all night partying on the beach. One guy was there was another guy there who's a photographer waiting for the sun to come up, and he had lived there for years. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you ever see the horizon blocked?" He's like, "I've taken tens of thousands of pictures." He said, "I've never seen the horizon blocked of the city." He said, "Unless it's just foggy." But I didn't even need my camera with a super zoom lens on it. I had a little digital video camera, and I could see sailboats coming out of the harbor across the lake. It was a nice clear morning. So but really I should have only been able to see the top of the Willis Tower, like 400 feet of it. But you could see everything down to the water.
Yeah.
And that was for me. I mean, beyond any other doubt that I may have had before that. I still am a little stumped about, weightlessness and satellites and that type of thing, because like in the early days of these so-called space flights, it does appear like there's some weightlessness going on. So, but I kind of look at it as like a Penn and Teller show, right? Just because I can't figure out the trick doesn't mean it's not a trick.
Yeah. So, I mean, you believe in space, as like you believe that there's
only the space between my ears. That's about it.
I know that sounds funny. I'm not trying to be facetious.
I totally don't. I do. I think there is a firmament, and I don't know how high that is, uh, but I don't think, but according to Scripture, above the firmament is water, and the sun, moon, and stars are in the firmament. So you have the firmament, and then above the firmament is are waters, and yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the same thing. I mean, like now I defer to so I try to understand as much as I can through, zetetic science or science that I can do myself. And I mean, ultimately I defer to the Bible, right? Because everything I've proven
Yeah,
lines up with the Bible. So if my, for me, my source of truth is the Bible. I became a Christian, and I wasn't until I saw how much truth was in the Bible. I hate that I had to come about it that way. I wasn't, no, I wasn't really raised Christian. We kind of went for morals, right? No one,
good person.
we went to church, but we never talked about it outside of church. It was like one of those things you just had to do in our neighborhood, right? Like it's something a lot of families do. And the reason for that is, I think the majority of Christians, I could be wrong about this. I think the majority of Christians go to church to get their morals. But ultimately they don't believe in the book because they can't reconcile it. You can't have, where's God? But how's he above you if there's no direction? There is no above. And where is he if he's out there? Does he live on Venus? Is he, where's heaven and all this?
Right.
And how's evolution fit into this? How's the Big Bang fit into this? How does, creation 6,000 years ago? None of it reconciles with science, right? Either
Yeah.
science is a liar or the Bible's a liar. And I found my source of truth.
Yeah, and I'm with you there because I actually a little bit different than you. I grew up in a quote Christian home, but wasn't myself. I mean, I was what I would call a false convert, right? I thought I was a Christian, but wasn't. And I can remember sitting in church thinking about, well, the Bible's using. I would explain away these scriptures in the Bible, like the firmament, and that God sits above the heavens, even, and what that means, because after all, men have been to outer space, so it's got to be a language of symbology or something like that. But now I just throw all that stuff out. That sort of mindset, which these scientists hijack in the world, and the same with disease as well. Um, I have family members who are nurses and medical workers, and they talk about these illnesses and sicknesses, and I'm like, it's just a plague, and we don't know what caused these plagues. Some of these plagues are caused by God, right? Obviously, you can drink poison and get sick from that, right? But when you have people in mass getting sick with the same kind of symptoms, it could just be a plague. And there may not be much explanation beyond that, except that it's being caused by an agent that's outside of our physical realm, perhaps. Perhaps.
Yeah. 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 This week now I study scripture. This week I've been watching, I'm hooked on Kingdom and Context. I got to give those guys a shout out. I do it anytime scripture comes up. Sean Griffin and Ken Heidelbrecht as well with Hanging on His Words. But I've been watching the Investigating Babylon series. Man,
Yeah.
it's really good, man. And I've always been intrigued with Babylon and Sumeria and that whole history and how it relates to the Bible, which I was on Trey Smith for a while. He's got some interesting stuff. And whenever I throw a channel out there, I just want to say to anyone, it doesn't mean I believe in everything they say. It means I think there's truth there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really enjoying Sean Griffin stuff. Kind of the most, for me, with what lines up with my truth. His truth lines up best with my truth, and I just think the dude's awesome. So can't give that guy enough shout outs. And as well as all the Flat Earth family out there. So many awesome channels.
Yeah.
One of the things I did want to talk about though is the last two videos I dropped, which I just reshared the pilot video, the old 2017 Lydia Hour Salute. She did that testimony. She gave her seminar and to some fellow pilots,
Oh,
and that was
yes,
out there
yeah,
in Dutch.
yeah, the pilot.
Yeah, commercial
Yeah.
airline pilot for KLM. And she also gave an interview in English with Mark Sargent in 2017.
Yes.
It was about a 50-minute video.
I remember hearing that live,
Yeah.
or at
And
least when it was on, when he put it on the radio.
so everyone went on and started saying, "Oh, listen, she's been proven a liar," right? I thought, well, how was she
Yeah.
proven a liar? And they said, well, she's not a commercial airline pilot. You can look in the FAA database. She's not,
Yeah.
So I looked in the FAA database, and she shows up in there with a private pilot license. Thought interesting.
Okay, so I looked and I could not find her in there.
Yeah, she is. She comes up.
Okay.
I'm in there. I was a student. I soloed.
Okay.
I never got my private pilot license, but yeah, I don't know if they're the ultimate record of truth. So what I did was
I my solo license as well, and I looked for myself and couldn't find it. But that was over 2 decades ago, so maybe that's why. But are
Yeah.
you currently licensed?
No, I
Okay.
didn't get my private pilot license, but I searched and I'm in there. I thought that was interesting. So I was
Yeah.
a student, and I got between 20 and 30 hours. I got to the point where I was soloing. But back to Lydia.
Yeah.
So she showed up as a private pilot license. I thought interesting. And that's how they were saying she's a liar. Everyone was saying, well, she's a liar, right? So I just went on LinkedIn and I started searching for Netherlands KLM pilots. And
Right.
the first 9 I found that said, say KLM pilot, and have their name, some Dutch name. And I'd look them up in the database. And only one of them came up as a commercial airline pilot. All the other ones had their private pilot license. And I think the point of it is that the Netherlands doesn't update the FAA database. And for example, the FAA doesn't regulate licenses for other countries. Every country has their own aviation authority. The Netherlands does have, I forget the name of it, but I did find it. They have their own aviation authority. And I don't know if it's standard procedure for them to disclose when someone gets a private license, because it looked like all these pilots for KLM in the Netherlands, and I dropped a video on it that it was called, I call it the follow-up report. This is the last video I dropped. And you could see that I searched for all these pilots, and they were in there, but they were in there with an old record of a private pilot license, right? Even though they were, now either they're lying in their LinkedIn, and why do people do this? Why would you have people just go out there and make
LinkedIn with, you're really sticking your neck out on the line to lie on LinkedIn, because you have all these other connections of people who can call you out. Right?
They're verified. They all have, I mean, it shows they work for the company, and it shows that they have connections at the company. It shows,
exactly.
so, and they have in there that they are a pilot, right? So commercial airline pilots that work for KLM, but 8 out of 9 didn't reflect in the FAA database as having a commercial airline pilot. So the FAA does not at least track accurately what the most recent license of people in other countries are, right? That's just, it doesn't. You might want to believe it does, but it doesn't. But what I am going to do next is I'm going to see if I can do a search for the Netherlands flight data, for their database. And then I'm going to write KLM as a company requesting I'm going to employment verification, right?
Yeah.
Just like we're a hiring company, right? So I'll send that out to them. And once I get that, I'll really get to show how, what's the word for it? I want to be rude and nice at the same time. You can't do that. But just the trolls that will say she's definitely not a pilot with no proof. If you come out as a flat earther, first true earther, whatever you want to say, I called it flat earther for years, so it's hard getting over that. There's no glory in that, right? There's zero glory. You're taking nothing but heat. My timeline is I'm nothing but a clown, right? Like I get clowned constantly by my old friends. I'll leave them on there, hoping one day, as they clown all these little nuggets I drop, one day they'll see the truth, and some have. But yeah, there's zero glory in doing this. You do this. I do it because I said, well, I want to be a soldier in God's army. So there's no, like, it's not like Lydia did it for money. She didn't do it for glory or fame. There's no fame. There's no glory. She is a real person. She does have or one of her licenses does show up in the FAA database. And there are Dutch websites that did write-ups on her, which you can find on like DuckDuckGo and other. So, yeah, I'm going to love I'm going to go out there and find her Dutch, license and whatever it takes to do that. And I can't wait because, people like Brenda has been dropping in, oh, she's definitely a liar. It was zero proof. Like, why would you say something like that? Like why would you say it, with no proof?
That's kind of the value of the trolls, I think, is that they can sharpen us.
Yeah.
That's, I understand the frustration for sure, because sometimes I just have to turn off my comments and not deal with it for a while. But yeah, I think there are some values to trolls, and that now that you have more, you have your quiver is that much more full of arrows for future battles, and now firsthand.
Oh, it definitely sharpens, right? Like, I wonder how, Darren, David, they amassed a lot of knowledge, and I've studied this since 15 or 16, whenever. I'm not sure. I didn't pay attention. Like so much time went by. I don't really know. It was either 15 or 16, but I was fairly early in, and there's still so much to learn. Like you can't be an expert in all sciences. You can't, if you know a little bit about, CGI or whatever, people are going to, oh, well, how's Snell's law work? If you know a little bit about Snell's law, they're going to hit you with, how does, astrology work? If you know a little bit about astrology, they're going to hit you with something. Math. How does, Euclidean math work? How to prove it with you can't be an expert in all things. You just can't, sadly.
Yeah, I think it comes back to that point. I think Witsit Gets It says this: falsification doesn't require a replacement, and all I need is one falsification. I mean, that's science. If your theory can be falsified with one thing, then your theory requires at least another explanation. Best case scenario.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter how many other things you say about it, how many other proofs. If I have one thing, if I can falsify one of your claims, then all of your claims fall down.
Yeah, that's right. You can't. Every space agency, I could do hours and hours of bloopers on these space agencies, which are, for me, indisputably fake. It's fake, and you can verify. You can hear their engines in there when they go by certain areas, but they don't have it in other rooms. You can see the wires. You can see they drop things. There's so many bloopers in there. Their hair is stiff as, it's hair sprayed up. Anyone that can't see that these are fake are just lying to themselves. They have no intellectual honesty. And
I think it's cognitive dissonance too, right? I know that phrase has been used a lot, but we can't grasp that this could be wrong.
Yeah.
We can't grasp that somebody would lie so blatantly.
Yeah. I'll come right back to that. I don't know who Jay Dreamers is. I'm trying to watch the site at the same time, but if you send me a link to his channel, I will check it out. I learn all kinds of new stuff that way. As far as cognitive dissonance, absolutely. You would have to enter to consider this as truth. You're entering a completely different reality, right? Like you can't consider it and walk in the same reality we walk in, right? Everything you believe gets turned upside down. Some people, you can show them someone grabbing a wire right? Like
Right.
they're
Yeah.
grabbing a wire and they're pulling it. And
Yeah.
my friend will go, no, no, no. He grabbed his pocket with his pinky.
Yeah. I know.
Who,
I know, man.
what, who would do that? Like, no, it's like, that's like an impossible grip. No. But it's always something. They'll grab at anything, where you can, there's videos where they're clearly, they forgot or missed parts of the harness. Like you can see the
Oh yeah.
harness.
Yeah. I remember that specific one, the with the two guys passing the hat back and forth, and that was live. And I
Yeah.
remember seeing that when it was live, and just thinking, what is that guy clearly is, you know, I had heard people talk about layering and how they chroma key out certain things, and I wasn't sure how that worked, but you could surely see in that video how it didn't work. And another thing about keeping, well, people ask, well, why would if so many people are in on this quote conspiracy, then how come you don't have whistleblowers keeping it secret? I can tell you this, and I think you know this from experience too. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about your background. You said you're like an IT architect. So am I. I have customers and projects which I'm under non-disclosure. There's projects that I was on non-disclosure 10 years ago. I still can't talk about. That's not a big secret.
Yeah.
But if I talk about it, I mean, those contracts, if they found out about it and took me to court, all they have to do is show the judge that contract and say, hey, this guy owes me $2 million. And the judge would say, yep, if they could prove that I violated the contract. So
I can
just
talk about,
simple
yeah, the only
money.
one I can't talk about is the one I'm under now. But I don't even care.
Yeah,
I'd share people. I'd dox myself. I don't care. I mean, I'm not, it's hard because when you talk about something freely, you can come across as braggadocious. And I hate that. I really do. I don't want to sit there but I mean,
well, let me ask you a couple questions. So you've got an IT architect background. Are you a programmer, software architect,
I started programming in 2002 on the side,
uh,
and I've probably written a million lines of code in LAMP. But
okay, yep,
my first, I mean, like everyone, I started with HTML, and then I
right,
started programming in VB. I tried to make the jump from VB, and I programmed some stuff in VB that was, last I heard, still used at Merrill Lynch, where I was at the engineers were still using it because I was managing a web farm and I had automated all my tasks. I made my own VB application. It was like kind of like poor man's SMS, but I made a nice interface that did all this management of
hmm,
all the web farms. And I had left and came back like 8 years later and they were still using it. And I was like, dang.
right,
But I tried to go from VB to C++. C++ is a very different beast.
right,
I didn't make it very far with C++. Not that I couldn't have, but I just found easier to, like, I came across LAMP at the time, Linux, Apache,
yeah,
MySQL, PHP, LAMP and WAMP, whatever.
right,
And I fell in love with PHP. And ever since 2004, I've been developing I probably wrote a million lines of code because I did many projects and I just loved it. I loved writing in PHP and I still program in PHP, even for the company I'm with now, but it's always a side hustle, like not hustle, but
right.
I
A
just
tool to
develop in
do your
PHP because I
job.
enjoy it. But my main job
Yeah,
has always been an IT architect,
yeah. So you
not,
do like
not,
data
not
center
development.
architecture or system mid-range architecture?
So I started to go back in time. I started with 64, but then when I first went into IT in like 03, 04, I started setting up Windows 11 networks for like
Hmm.
small real estate offices. And then I went from Windows 11 to Lantastic 1 and up through Lantastic. And then I started working with NetWare Lite 1.1. Then I moved up to OS2 Warp Connect. From OS2,
Yeah,
I started working with NetWare 3. And for NetWare 3, I started cross-working with Windows NT 3.5, then 3.5.1, 4.0. I got my MCSE with 3.5.
yeah.
And most people didn't even know there was a 3.5. There was actually a Windows NT 3.5. But then
I
from
think
there, I
that's
started.
I got an MCSE too, and I think it was about that same time as the 3.5 to 4.0 transition days.
Yeah, I got my 4.0 in 2000, and then I got my master, my CNE 3, CNE 4, master
Hmm.
CNE, and then I got my CCNA, CCNP, and then I got my ITIL, and then I got everything. I got
Yeah,
my certified network expert in Ethernet, and I got, you name it. I'm leaving a ton off. I'd have to, honestly, I have so many I forget. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, a Citrix certified instructor.
Right.
Citrix certified with MetaFrame and WinFrame and presentation server. I've done everything. I've been a SAN engineer. I've been an exchange engineer. I've been a firewall engineer. I've been a router engineer. I've been a hypervisor engineer for 7 years. Right now, I'm a cybersecurity guy. I do a lot of Linux administration. I do, but I work with SIM sensors. So I actually architect a SIM sensor for a large client. I design it. So there's a lot of Dockerized components that run on. It's a ESXi for the base hypervisor, and then I run CentOS and Ubuntu VMs, and then Dockerized components on top of those, and that's all my architecture that I'm responsible for. Vulnerability, patch management, just overall design, the architecture of it. But I mean, I'm still not scratching the ice. I've set up. I've worked with everything in IT. It'd take me forever. For my first 15 years, every year I took a different contract, and it was always on a different area of expertise. So basically every year I changed because I wanted to be just well-rounded. I wanted to be able to work on everything in IT. But yeah, one of the reasons I wouldn't care, like, here's the thing is, I know that everyone that's came out, like Brian Mullen or Lydia or anyone, you come out publicly and you get doxxed, right? You lose your job.
Yeah, they didn't. Brian Mullen, it wasn't that he was just doxxed. They went to his employer and pretty much slandered him. Yeah.
But I'd have a job tomorrow. Like, I'm honestly, like, it would be with. I mean, I don't want to be braggadocious, right? I hate saying that, but one thing about my skill set is I've got job offers like lined up. It's not even a problem. So what are you going to do? Right. It doesn't cost me anything. If they let me go, I'll get like a 3 to 6 month severance. You get me a bonus. So if someone docks me, the only thing they would do is get me a big fat bonus. That have to give me some kind of severance, because what are you going to say? We're firing him because he's a flat earther. I mean, anyway, sorry to go down that trail, guys. But yeah, it's frustrating because.
Thank you.
Well, an example.
I'm, like I said, I'm in that field of work too, so I appreciate hearing your background.
Yeah. Well, it's frustrating because I've been, really polite with, say, Brenda, for example, right? And Brenda will come on and go, "Oh, so you're you're help desk, right?"
Yeah.
It's like, I've never been help desk. Honestly, never. The day I went in IT, I wasn't help desk because it just made sense to me, right? I was tier 3 from day one. I was never not tier 3. Just
right. It's just a remark.
But to just sit there and say, "No, you're not. You're not." It's like, and then Brenda will do the same thing with Lydia, right? She's not a pilot, and it's like, why would you say that? If Lydia's a hero to me, and if you sit there and there's three groups you can't disrespect on my channel. It just gets you deleted. What's Owen Benjamin say? Blocked for life. Blocked for life.
Yeah.
If you disrespect my God, you're blocked for life. If you disrespect my heroes, you're blocked for life. And if you disrespect me or my friends, you're blocked for life. You can argue with me. I don't mind that. You can post evidence. If you post valid evidence, share me a video, change my mind. If you prove that Lydia's not a pilot, I'll retract and go, dudes, I was wrong. I'm certain she's a pilot. The lady went out and ruined herself. She said, I don't think that's a lie. And she is in the FAA database to the same amount any other pilot is in the Netherlands. So anyway, yeah, it's frustrating. You can't insult people that are heroes in my book, right? If they're proven not to be, if you can prove that they're a liar. But now I'm on a mission. Now I'm gonna try to get proof. I don't, that I shouldn't have to do that. It's sad when someone gives their testimony and comes out in the flat. They're not doing it for, it's like someone coming out and saying, I'm an alcoholic, right? You don't do that for glory. There's no glory in it.
Oh, there it kind of is now in Hollywood. If you've been to rehab, that's some street cred right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Or I beat my children, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's equated to, right? It's like being a true earther it's a very negative thing, right? You're joked on. You're considered remedial.
Right.
You're considered remedial intelligence. Yeah. I'd love to get, holy cow. I'd love to do an interview with Lydia. I think we'll
Yeah, I
see.
was gonna
I'll
say,
try.
hopefully you can get something like. I'd love to see an interview like that. I think you'd
Yeah.
do great.
Lydia she only did 2 interviews. Well, she didn't even do 2 interviews. She only did one that I know of. She just did the one with Mark Sargent. Her last name is Auersloot, Ouwersloot. Someone's asking. So Lydia Auersloot, she isn't it's in the video. It's spelled right at the beginning of the second video I dropped, the last video I dropped. You can see her name. That's right. Mr. Nick just spelled it out. Lydia Auersloot. I'm just reading some of these comments real quick, catch up. So I've been arguing with Rohit. So I didn't know this Glenn jumped on my channel, right? And he was just saying, I can't stand it when people just say, you're wrong, right? Like they just post wrong. And, just like factually, you're wrong. If you post something like a valid argument to something, like this is why I believe, you can't just say, you don't understand refraction, right? Like, no, I don't have a problem. If I would tell you if I couldn't understand it, right? I would tell you if I couldn't understand gravity. I would tell you if I couldn't understand. I understand it. That's not a problem. But if you're just going to tell me I'm wrong and I can't, you're just going to get blocked for life. It's just that simple. So Rohit's been emailing me, and apparently he's famous in the True Earth community. He's like been trolling for like 7 years.
I don't know the name.
Well,
what's the name again? Rohit
or Rohif.
Okay.
Rohif. So he has trolled the heck out of every channel, and apparently he's very wealthy. He's let me know that. And I said this guy lives in $1 million house, and he corrected me and he goes, it's not $1 million house. It's a $9 million house, 9 or 10 or 11 or something, I don't know what Rohit is. I don't know. He's he just trolls True Earth channels, but I sent him a challenge. He's sitting there trying to send me all these mathematic, and I'm not going to entertain it. I just don't have the time or I don't have the will to, right? Because
Right.
I know the truth, right? I'm not going to sit there and jump through hurdles for you when I know the truth. God gave me eyes to see. So I came up with a nice little challenge back for him. I'm curious to see if he accepts my challenge back, because the easiest way to prove True Earth, the easiest way it's the answer's in Antarctica. That's where the answer's at. There's either a 24-hour sun there or there's not, and there's not, right? Or they wouldn't be faking videos. And there are somewhere between 30 and 40 fake Antarctic videos. I've been saving them. And you can either go there and see it or you can't. Well, we were having an argument, and he's like, oh yeah, anyone can go to Antarctica, which you can't, right? Taboo Conspiracy did a great video on that called Antarctica is Closed.
Sorry, we're closed. Yep.
Right. Sorry, we're closed. Ben with Taboo Conspiracy did that. And he shows the documentation where you have to have this, you have to have that. It's like, there's no arguing it. And so Rohit saying, no, you can go there. It's very easy. Anyone can go there. And I said, okay, well, set up the trip, set up the finances. If it's that easy and this is all you have time to do, apparently this is what he enjoys doing, right? He says, no, he's like, it's my guilty little pleasure. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want to win, you can win hands down. You can beat the entire community. All you have to do is, since you say it's so cheap, lay it out, lay out the trip, the itinerary, and the cost. You're saying anyone can go there. So I'm thinking it's going to be under $40,000 or something like that. That's not anyone, but let's just say it's that high. But in my challenge to him, I said, I'll try to get the flat earth community to cover it, maybe in some kind of fund me or something. But if they don't, I'll cover the rest or whatever it is. But if I don't see the 24-hour sun, you pay me back, right? So if I go there for whatever, you're going to set the itinerary. If it takes a week, 2 weeks, but I said, but there's no excuses. If I go and don't see a 24-hour sun, you admit you're wrong. So I challenged him to set up a trip that I'll go in a budget. And I said, if it comes over budget, you have to pay the difference, right? Because you're rich. What's the big What's the big deal? Just pay the difference. And if I don't see it, you admit you're wrong. So if I go there and it's, cloud coverage or there's no excuses, right? Because they always want to do this. Why don't you just go to the edge? Just go to the edge, right? Well, A, it's very expensive. B, last year, I spent about a week writing every Antarctic travel place that I could find. It was probably 15 agencies or something, not roughly, I'm just guessing. And I wrote them all. And I wrote the same template letter to them all. And it said, hey, listen, I'm looking to go to Antarctica, but I want to see the 24-hour sun. That's all I want to see. I need to know where I can go, how long I need to stay, what the best time is. I said, I want to see the 24-hour sun. And I said, but I only want to go if I can see the 24-hour sun. Every single one of them wrote back. And I was going to make a video on this. I was going to compile it all into a video. They all wrote back and said, well, we can't guarantee you'll see the 24-hour sun. I'm like, isn't that funny? I can go to the Arctic and see it. That's no problem. Why is it so easy in the Arctic? Everyone sees it in the Arctic.
And plus, if you did that with a travel agent up in the Arctic anywhere, they're not going to have a clause saying we can't guarantee you see the 24-hour sun. They're like, they wouldn't even bring it up.
Right. It'd be a no brainer, right?
It's well, even if you did, it's like, well, that's not our problem, right?
Yeah.
But it's like up front, whatever these travel companies are, they're like, well, yeah, no.
They all made it very clear in their response. We can't guarantee you'll see the 24-hour sun, right? That's weird to me.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, we don't have to go to space, right? I mean, nobody's going to go to space, right? Except for rich people and famous people, basically Freemasons, like people that have sold out. They're liars if they go to space. It's going to be a handful of people, and they're going to go up and come down and tell marvelous stories. But
about the stars, those marvelous stories about the stars, or the not stars, the ones who didn't see it, whichever.
But you can go to Ushuaia. You wouldn't even have to go. And I keep bringing this up. I know many of you heard this argument. In February, I think February 22nd there's supposed to be a 17.5-hour sun in Ushuaia. If there is, then there's the Earth's not flat, right? It does not matter, at least not on the Gleason's map, right? You'd have to go to something totally different. You'd have to go to like some other model, right? At that point in time, there's problems,
Yeah. And I would say that, and this is my point about my earlier conversation about sun. If there is 24-hour sun in Antarctica, it doesn't mean we're on a ball. It just means our concept of the map is inaccurate. Our concept of how the sun works is inaccurate, because we've already falsified that we're not on a ball. I mean, every reason that they give that we're on a ball is proven wrong.
Yeah.
And that
there's so many.
Yeah, and that there's sun at the North Pole or so-called South Pole 24 hours. That's not a proof we're on a ball. That's only an observation. That's all it is.
Yeah. Well, if there were, the 24-hour sun at the Arctic is not a problem. Like that's something we believe in with the Gleason's map, right? Like that makes sense. That's no problem. The South Pole is a problem, right? But every video from the South Pole I've seen has been faked. It's easy to see. It's easy to see it's faked. So, I would want to, if I went to the South Pole and saw an actual 24-hour sun, which I know I wouldn't, because there's no cameras you can see that show it. It's like, ironically, there's no 24-hour webcams. There's no, even when I contacted someone who went to Ushuaia, took a vacation there, they said they didn't see a 17-hour sun when they went. They said all they could see was clouds. It's like rolling clouds constantly. There's just a constant cloud deck there. And how crazy is that, right? Like how wild would that be if that was the truth? If you go there you'd go there and it'd be all for naught. You can't prove it. Oh, there we go. The karate hottie.
That one's reserved for Michelle Watterson.
I don't know. It's debatable. Glad you could join us today.
I feel I was listening to the live chat. I'm kind of concerned for you, Bobby, because I think when you make these trips, because one of these agencies is going to come back and say, you know what? Yeah, come along. You're going to be our special guest, and then you're going to be Titanic. So I think you need to send somebody that looks sort of like you, but that is replaceable of some sort, because there's a chance that they may be your final voyage.
I actually thought about that. Like that's a legit concern that I would have, right? But if I were going to go there, I would take out like a $10 million policy on me, so that if I did get suicided, my family would be set. My wife and daughter would just be absolutely set. So I would have a fat insurance policy. And is that good? No. I mean, I'd be doing it for the greater good and greater truth. I'd certainly fight to the death if anyone did try to suicide me, right? Like, but at least if something did happen, my wife and daughter would be well taken care of. So I was actually thinking about that. I was sitting there thinking, like, if someone were going to prove them wrong definitively, man, they'd probably have you suicided.
They would invite you. Yeah. And they would probably pay for your meals and all that stuff. It would be quite the invitation, I think. And if that does happen, where you get an acceptance letter of sorts, that insurance policy, you better make sure it covers act of God or whatever, because you're going to get a weather modification tornado coming right down on your ship in the middle of the ocean. Ironically, like, your policy doesn't cover that. And so, and maybe get one of those medical alert buttons or something, so we can find you when you're in the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
Something along those. But that's, as you were talking, I was listening on the live stream part. As you were talking, that I want you to go. I want you to have some sort of, on a domestic flight, and there's often, what do you call it when there's an officer on the flight, but they're undercover? What do you call that? Like federal marshal. Yeah. Whenever you might need another person to go with you that doesn't even make eye contact with you, but that's there as your wingman of sorts.
So we're it's not going to be long and we're going to retire, right? Like my family is either going to move to the Philippines or we're going to move to South America, but somewhere where our money goes a long way and I can just focus on the things I want to focus on. And I was thinking, if I went to South America, if I flew into, say, Brazil, right, I would ditch my cell phone and I would go to Ushuaia. And no one, I'd be untraceable. I'd be untrackable. You would not believe me. I've watched enough Jason Bourne. So I would, and I know enough about IT. I know how to be, I know what is technically possible. So I think I could go under radar and just end up in Ushuaia. Everything would be cash, everything. It'd be 100%. Like, I'd get all set up in Brazil. Because honestly, I think if they knew what you were trying to do and you went to Ushuaia, call me crazy. Like, I would be worried about that. Like, they would be, they'd be looking to, to stop your efforts.
Yeah, you might have to do lose your cell phone before you leave, and just, you have to really disconnect after that.
Yeah, they'd know you're going to Brazil, right? Like, there's no way around that, because you got to fly, commercial airlines, so they're gonna know. And I know, being in IT and having dealt with data collection and SQL and just like what my own databases I've built, but knowing what the government can afford, right? And how easy it is to scrape information. Like Edward Snowden, what he was talking about, 10 years ago or whatever, like, they're way past that. They know who is a problem today, who needs to be monitored today, who's coming up as a problem. They know who's on the list of people that they don't want to keep around and they do want to keep around. Like, you're either a red dot or a blue dot, like, for sure, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a red dot, right? Like, red dots they don't want, you know. I'm just using that as an example. Red pill, red dot, red blood versus blue bloods, reptilian bloods are blue. It's always red against blue. Even Marvel, it's always red against blue, right? The blue is them. Red is us. If anyone hasn't figured that out, we're team red. They're team blue. This doesn't go to politics. That's like a bad, you know, it doesn't mean we're Republicans or whatever, but they are
on that note, what about the screenshot that I sent you of the new requirements to live stream? Like, they literally need a 30-second you staring into the camera just to be live streamed. I was going to try a second method, and I don't really want to say it here in case it works. Like, okay, it works, but I don't want to give them my face. I know they have it on my driver's license, whatnot, but still, for maybe a small amount of time, the entities of your driver's license and YouTube are still kind of separate puppet masters. Like what you were just talking about is going off grid and stuff. They are implementing that into everything. And it's almost like, do you want to go off grid and avoid them, or maybe the opposite, to be so monitored, so on grid that if someone were to, you know, pull some shady stuff, that it's back to that movie, The Final Cut or whatever, by Robin Williams or something. It's like almost like you have to be one extreme or the other, have absolutely no electronic connection whatsoever, which is beyond difficult. I mean, based on my face scan being denied after 24 hours, because I made this face, I did this like that, and they didn't like that, so they like, you got to make a new one. Or to be so monitored that if you were to go on a trip like this, or, you know, live happily ever after somewhere else, that if someone does do something shady, it's going to be recorded. I don't know, but you're definitely you're red dot for sure.
Yeah, Matt, let me ask Maddie a question. Maddie, where in Germany are you from? I'm just curious, assuming you're in Germany. We could do a show in German. You know, I could do that. My German's not perfect, but it's good enough. I do speak enough German to get by. Brenda, you can, but you always get so angry, and I hate that. You know, if you post your question here, I'll answer it. I want love, peace, and chicken grease. That's all I want. Maddie, everyone would leave tomorrow after yeah, Maddie. Sure. Yep. Yeah, if we had like if I did I'd like to do I would actually like to do a podcast like, I couldn't lead the podcast. I can like answer questions. Like I'm a B2 in German, right? According to the Goethe Institute, right? Like I do, that's decent, right? It means I can parlay, but it's not fluent.
The only thing I know in German is my grandma, her name was Hedda Hoffman, and all she would say is, "Angelica, time to milk the goats," when we were little, and then I would try to hide so I didn't have to milk the goats. But what's the temperature, not the actual temperature, but the culture for this in Germany? I am unaware of the free speech-ish of that. Like, are they running into the same problems we have?
I had asked that before, right? Like, I was curious who the kind of leaders if there are any, like, you know, who is the David Weiss of Germany, and who is the David Weiss of Italy, and who is, you know, or if they all just defer to us, right? Is it like, you know, we've got 5 guys kind of leading the front in the US? Like, I'm curious about that. I don't, you know, when I do searches, all I get are, you know, English, you know, American, whatever you want to call responses. But that would be cool. Like, I would love to go on I'd love to do like a German cast, or it'd be neat.
And is there a NASA German equivalent over there that just saturates the pop culture of Or what's their?
Well, you have ESA. It's the European Space Agency. So Europe is under. You have the European Union, right? And you have, they're like kind of like the United States. They're I don't know what you call that. They're a confederation or something. They're a group. That's probably the wrong word, but. So Brenda, this is the argument. Brenda, I'm going to entertain it. I'm just going to answer this. I did a whole video response to that, and it's not fair to say I did searches for pilots that unless is your argument that the people in LinkedIn who are openly sharing their first and last name and that they're pilots for KLM, are you saying they're lying about their names? Like, what is your argument? They show up as private pilots. And it matches. If you look at their ages and look at when they got the license, the FAA, you can argue this, but I'm going to prove you wrong because I'm going to you're just going to argue this. It's just going to make you look bad when I prove you wrong. That's all it's going to come down to, because I'm going to do I'm going to get that information either from KLM or from the Netherlands Aviation Authority. So you're going to be wrong. And then you're just going to lose whatever credibility you have. So, I wouldn't, this isn't where I'd stake my flag, honestly.
Yeah. And what credibility has Brenda?
Here or none, right? Like, it's a moot point here. None.
Yeah. I think you already responded. You put a video, I think, that's why I say the trolls are good. They make you sharp. You're sharper now, and time, let it be.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree.
You would need an atomic subparticle divider to divide out another portion of credibility to shave away off of zero. I don't think the technology goes that nanoparticle-ish. Like, we're just going to count it as zero. There's zero credibility there. Bobby, you're way above that. Experientially, socially, yeah.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah.
I'm trying, right? Like, I want to be Yahweh's representative. I try I know I have flaws. I grew up, it's hard. We have those things. Our upbringing is kind of like a little thing that keeps eating at you inside, and we slowly try to suppress it. But I'm learning, and I know I'm getting better every day. It's like Smiley. I love Smiley's logo, right? Just better today than yesterday. That's the only thing that matters. So Brenda, the reason I believe she's a commercial pilot, it's about what I believe, is because she gave her testimony that she is. She gave her testimony, and she has not proven herself a liar. The really good question is, why would you believe NASA when NASA is proven a liar? That's the difference between you and me. The difference between you and me is you take known liars and you prop them up. And I take people who haven't been proven liars and I prop them up. That's a very big difference.
There's an additional difference too, is because the pilot has everything to lose, where NASA and its conglomerates have everything to gain. They get paid for lying, whereas the pilot gets punished for truth telling. It's an easy win.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to follow this conversation between two people talking about Dutch and German, but yep.
Imagine if you pose that to a smaller child that's still easily swayed by if you broke the candy bar in half or something, where that type of what they want, what they desire it's very easy to see. And you pose a smaller child with, we will reward you for lying, or we're going to punish you for telling the truth. Like, whatever that child, toddler, preteen, whatever makes it that decision is the absolute tell on their character and their integrity. And so I think, like a pilot that can lose and did lose everything for telling the truth, much rather go with the integrity of that person.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, every once in a while I get pulled into these. Like the part of me that once I was like, I bite my tongue a lot looking at the comments. I wonder if I should just ignore I could just turn off comments. I don't know. I really don't know what the right thing to do is. I want to interact. I want to follow I want to engage the questions. I think it should be up, right? I think I should. So I'm split brain, right? I'm like trying to, but yeah, right. Like, why would you, we know each other, right? Angelica, I met you, your name may not be Angelica. You may not live in Washington, right? But I have no reason. Why would you lie to me? You've never lied to me, right? Like if you had lied to me and I met you and you stole from me and things like that, then I'd be like, man, that may not be Angelica. She just could be some name she has. She may not have done the things she says she's done, but someone who has never been proven to lie, they're granted, like we what's the word for that?
Innocent till proven guilty.
Exactly. You're innocent until proven guilty. Thank you. That's really the best analogy, is they are innocent until proven guilty. And the irony is these people trolls want to say that they're guilty until proven innocent. And it's my job to prove them innocent. But on the flip side of that, they will sit there and stand up for and defend proven liars again and again and again, proven liars, right? Like, why would you ever trust NASA or ESA or JAXA? They've got vanishing astronauts that just turn invisible, right?
Well, I think it's so audacious and we've touched on this prior, but the particular person that's so adamant of somebody proving themselves is the main person that comes back here time and time again, unwilling to show their face, unwilling to give their real name or all this stuff. So they're hiding behind a veil of anonymity, demanding that everyone else proves their lineage. It's, to me, it's just bold and ironic.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Stuart today, by the way, but I think we got a good thing. We got Claw on, we got you, we got me.
Well, the link that you sent was the Delta pilot one, and I only got on when you put it in the.
Oh shoot! I didn't know that. Well, I would have figured he would. I didn't even notice that, man. I'm gonna send it here. But I figured he would have jumped on and said something like.
I see it now.
Yeah.
Stuart's probably just typing comments in the thing like I was. Yeah, it's almost like that need for verification is the rules for thee, but not for me. It's hard to entertain someone's demand for verification when they're the least verified person amongst this whole group.
Right. Like where's I dox myself on the daily, right? I do. I give links to my Facebook. My Facebook has all my information. I'm auto doxing, right? Like, I don't care if you know who I am. I don't care because you can't hurt me. I set myself up that way. I can't be, everyone knows my stance. I preach it. I put it on my Facebook. I'm all about it. I don't have a flat earth Facebook. I had all these people that I grew up with and that I met traveling. And then I just said, you know what? I'm a flat earther. I'm going to start posting it here. And that's it. I have one account. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't.
Imagine, and maybe this is more sensitive for women than it is for men, but imagine being in the nursery, the birth giving side of the hospital, right? And it used to be a problem, but nowadays there's very strict protocol about after you've given birth, do not hand your baby to anyone that doesn't show their name tag and that doesn't, come in with a clipboard and that doesn't know your name, right? For the obvious reasons of baby kidnapping. And so there's still a chance that if someone really wanted to trick you, a nurse, right? You're laying on the bed and you're just basking in the afterglow of giving birth. And there's a chance that a nurse could come in with the name tag, with the uniform, with your clipboard, with your blood type, with all that, and still trick you as to their employment with that company, right? So let's say in the same vein as this pilot. But if I was the mama and they're like, hey, we need to take your baby's blood pressure, if this lady that's posing as a nurse tricks me, well, then she earned it, right? So if this pilot really isn't a pilot, they're putting in a whole lot more effort into the authenticity of their identity that they're presenting than someone who came in with no name tag, maybe a janitor's broom or something, like, hey, can I hold your baby? And so that's, to me, what Brenda's trying to do. She's the lady in street clothes with a janitor broom that she just took off the cleaning cart wanting to hold the baby, but this nurse here has the name tag and all the medical information. Like, which one am I going to hand my child to get weighed? I'm going to go with the pilot. The pilot seems legit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So that seminar that Lydia was speaking at, do you know if she was a speaker, or it almost looked like at the end that she sat down because she had stood up to just speak momentarily.
Yeah, you're a little choppy. I can hear what you're saying, but yeah, they said at the end of it, they said, hey, stop there so we can answer questions. And I got the impression she just went to, kind of sit down and answer questions. Like, she just decided not to stand at the board. That's the impression I got. Let's see. C-Law is dropping out and dropping back in. Let me see if he comes in any better. You there?
Okay, is this any better?
I think it is. It sounds like it might be better. You were choppy before.
It's that satellite service, it's just not that reliable.
Yeah. Again, well, satellite service has a terrible ping. Like, if you're ever doing a speed test, you using like a Ookla app, which is what they all use. The base of all these speed test apps is something called Ookla. It'll tell you'll have like 100 millisecond or greater ping, which is you'll get the same speeds coming down. Like, you can download at tremendous speeds, but there's a delay, and that delay isn't good for real-time things like real-time gameplay or real-time video conferencing, but it's fine for watching things because you don't watch things in real time. The fact that it needs to buffer doesn't affect you.
And I was joking. I don't have satellite,
Okay.
But what do you think on these satellite internet services like Elon Musk?
It's two things. I mean,
it's just balloons.
I think that Elon probably does have Starlink, but Starlink is more than likely Google Loon technology, right? That's what Google Loon. They already admitted. Google Loon said you can watch the videos on it. They came out and said we can put a whole mesh of balloon satellites on balloons that'll provide a mesh network to all over Africa, everywhere. There's no disputing that because that's admitted by Google Loon. I have the video and it's public. It's still on YouTube. It's their video. And on top of that, that's easy enough even for me to conceive, right? That's easy to do. You don't need satellites. But on top of that, you also have dish-based satellites, which would be very easy to bounce off of what they call the ionosphere, what we call the firmament, right?
Exactly.
You would just bounce that back down to ground satellites. So that's not a problem.
And not to mention, I know this goes more into the organic side of it, but as humans, we are infinitely more metallic than we were even 10 years ago. Yeah. When when everyone was sticking the spoons and stuff to their head, the ones that took the viper bite, and I thought for sure, like, oh, there's no way that would happen to me because I didn't take it. To the no. But I was speechless when I did all the things. I wiped my face clean and made sure it was different types of metals, and I had so much stuff sticking to my forehead. I'm like, oh, maybe it's just the shape of my head, and to my chest, my arms. And I realized how metallic I was, just air, wind, water, the stuff. So, and I've been very cautious about not taking any of those metallic things in. But with the satellites and the ionosphere and the firmament, and then here we are, just our own little human receptors. I imagine even in a dense population that we would be very conducive to any Elon Musky Starlink. I mean, I think we're just going to be one big projection screen on the bottom while the firmament's on top. Yeah, we're very metallic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Mention a couple things as far as the magnetic and stuff. Back when these videos started coming out about people sticking magnets to themselves, there were also people finding meat in the store, like chicken meat and beef. And I had just bought some chicken meat from Aldi's grocery store, so I tried it. I took a magnet, and it stuck to the meat. And I'm like,
Wow.
and we had already eaten half the package. I'm like, I'm not going to eat the rest of this. So,
Yeah.
because I don't know if that passes, whatever is, I mean, it's only steel and, iron-based metals are magnetic. Isn't that correct?
To my knowledge, I don't know of any
Mhm.
organic magnetic, right? Like it's all
I mean, I don't
all
know of any other
metals.
metals that are magnetic in the sense that stick to a standard, iron type magnet.
Yeah. So what you were saying about that a little bit ago, Angelica, is on a little bit different lines than what Claw was looking at. I'm big into RF, right? Like I believe RF harms us. It damages our DNA. It's actually proven, in my opinion, right? From what I've seen very scientific evidence showing that RF damages our DNA. If you put a plant next to a Wi-Fi router and then put a plant far away from a Wi-Fi router and treat them the same and feed them the same, you'll see in some instances the plants die, right? Well, it's the same thing. It's organic, just like us. And these 5G is way worse. Like it is the strongest, and if
Focus.
anyone, what's that?
It's focused. It's beam microwave technology.
Yeah, and there was I think one of the best documentaries that I'd seen was called Resonance: Beings of Frequency, and it was a UK documentary. It was very well done. And this lady had cancer, and she had realized, she kind of noticed that everyone that she met that had cancer lived by a radio tower, a cell tower. And then she put together a map. She started interviewing people with cancer, and she noticed that it was like 90, better than 90%, 95, some very high, maybe even 99%. The closer you live to a cell tower, the higher chances of getting cancer. And then they did all kinds of tests. They went underground and blocked themselves from radio frequencies, and then enabled radio frequencies underground and to test various things. And it was a great video. And if anyone hasn't seen that, it'll change your thinking on RFs. I wired my entire house. We don't have all my computers, all my Rokus and whatnot are all using wired. I'm very against RF.
There was
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say there was that one elementary school. I don't remember the name because obviously they scrub it as fast as they can. But I want to say it was 2 or 3 years ago where there was an influx of elementary kids all getting brain cancer, and it was that they had just the previous year installed 2 or 3 towers right in the recess area, and all these kids getting brain cancer. Like it's undeniable.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually moved. So 2 houses ago, right? A few years ago, we were living and we had bought this really wonderful house that we were in love with in a new community. And that's when I really started becoming aware of all this RF research I was doing at the time. And this community, which is a brand new, expensive community by my standards, and it had cell towers. It had 3 that I could see from my house. I could look out. I could kind of walk around in my yard to see 3. And there were probably 3 more within 6 miles. So 6 within 6 miles, and 3 of those were within sight. So we loved the house. We loved the community, but we moved. And it was really all about those cell towers.
I can see this. I'm sorry, I didn't even catch the name of
Claw.
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 Like Dr. Claw off of Go Gadget. All right, I'm gonna call you Doctor, if that's fine. So Dr. Claw, because like I'll get you next time, Gadgets. So I don't know what terrain or what part of the US you live in? Are you in the city or more in the country?
I'm in Nashville.
Now, so I'm up here in Washington State. I'm a little bit closer to town within the last couple months, but I lived on the Indian reservation for a bit. And what shocked me, because if you follow the money, of course, some of these decisions for 5G towers and whatnot they make business sense when you consider the concentration of population. But I can't tell you how many times now I'm talking my house. When I look out, I can see the neighbor's light. It's about a mile away, one of the closest neighbors' light, and then behind me there's thousands and thousands of acres of just reservations where all the wildlife you can imagine is back there. And so if you look at a map, there'll be a neighborhood of 5 or 6 houses here, and then 10 miles down the road there'll be 2 or 3 more farms. They all have 500-600 acres to them, and then way down the road. So if you look at a map and you think, okay, let's say every one of these houses pays, I'm just gonna make up a number, pays $100 a month for their cell phone service or whatnot. If you add that up, and then the price of the tower and the price of all the equipment and service, blah, 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 that goes with that, there is no possible way that there could be a profit in an area like where I just moved from. There's no way, even if everybody has that same service. Let's say everyone has Starlink and every house is paying full price, they are going to be at a loss. And then you exponentially more if you think of populations like Africa or something, not all of Africa. I know not all of Africa, but in the poorest of countries, and like where I just came from, in the sparsest of populations, why is there a 5G tower on this literal mountain where it would take you 3 hours to hike up and there's no homes there? Why is there a 5G tower there? There's not profit. And are these business gurus, are they just charitable, or like we just want these farmers to be able to have access to 911 in case they fall into a well? I don't think that's the case. And so, the saying, if something is free, you're the product. And
right.
I've stood on my front porch because the sky, there is no light pollution, and stood on the front porch and I saw with my own eyes the line of Satelloons going up. And you get on Facebook classifieds the next day, and it's small towns where everyone's like, what was that? And sure enough, it was the Starlink little Satelloons going up. And a lot of people were like, yay, we're going to get internet now, because there's a lot of us out here that we have to go to the library to get internet or something. And so I'm looking at it as a money thing. There's no way in this spread out of a population like where I am, where it would be worth a company to put a 5G tower on a mountain for 10 homes. There's no way. And so that that there's a human product involved more than a monthly bill that's allowing them to have a satellite line go up in the middle of nowhere where it's an Indian reservation. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I was just pointing at that comment. If I do that, it means I'm pointing at a comment. Yeah. I was just agreeing.
Take a shot for $1 billion. I missed it.
We got Josh online. Let's welcome Josh. He tried to jump in last time, had a terrible connection. Hopefully you got a better connection this time, brother.
How am I doing this time? Can you hear me?
Yes. Good.
All right, cool.
But yeah.
It's the Starlink.
It's
Starlink's working better than the home internet.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Josh is next to a 5G tower. That's why.
Yeah. Josh, You're coming in with that professional radio broadcaster tone, man. You got that deep.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Comes in good, man. Anything you want to share? Do you want to tell us about yourself?
Oh man, I just love listening to the channel, and I came to this. I was a Christian, as a kid. Went to private schools, fell away because of all the scientism. 20 years away from it all, and then started coming back to it from personal experiences. And 2010, the other broadcast you guys had, people were talking about 9/11, waking up to all those truths. So I was kind of primed for this, but I didn't look at it until last summer, and blew my mind open and made me realize that the reason none of the Bible squared for me was because I was paying attention to all the lies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Josh,
what area?
Hi, Angelica. I'm in Oregon.
Okay.
Can you do
Go
us a
ahead.
favor, Josh, please?
Yeah.
Can you say, we're live, we're now taking callers. Caller, you're on the line. Can you please do that?
We're live. We're now taking callers. You're on the line.
That's a good one.
That is
I wish
so
my voice, I wish I sounded like that. I've got this 16-year-old voice or something, man. That is great.
Oh no, no,
I wasn't,
I love it. That's how I feel when I listen to myself too.
I wasn't cut out for this, but I'm doing my best. Yeah. So you're relatively new to all this. I mean, not
Totally new. Yeah, I mean,
totally,
I've been
yeah.
soaking it up for the last year, still trying to figure things out. But I look at the sky a lot and always had questions about all these things. You know, told my grandpa like 5 years ago, I think Einstein's wrong. You know, if we don't know what 96% of our gravity and matter is, there's
Yeah.
something going on here.
Yeah, I will share this with you, and it sounds like you already got it and you already figured it out. But there were several times when I questioned my. There was like it always ended up being what I realized was a troll, and they make a really really slick argument, just like Einstein, right? It's a slick
Yep.
one, right? And it sounds, when you go back and look at it, it's laughable when you figure it out. But after you figure out like 3 or 4, you figure out that they were lying to you. You figure out the truth. You realize they'll go to any length to keep the secret, and that there are actually
Right.
real trolls out there, and not just trolls. There's, I'm absolutely
Gatekeepers.
certain. Yeah. So I'm certain that the whole, this, now everyone's gonna laugh. This is gonna be a mockery, right? And everyone's gonna take this out of context. So be careful. I understand I'm bringing this up for a reason, because it's the most laughable thing you're ever gonna hear. Has anyone ever seen the videos about birds aren't true? Right? Birds aren't real.
Oh,
Birds
yeah,
aren't
yeah,
real,
yeah.
right? Well, the guy came out like he's real. It's real. You know, like, oh no, birds aren't real. They're fake, right? That was to discredit the True Earth. That was absolutely to discredit the True Earth movement, because you
Right.
just tie them two together. All you got to do is start mentioning the two at the same time, right? Like, can you believe? You know, it's like idiots who believe the Earth is flat, right? Like, that's all you got to do is by association. Now, anyone who is considering entertaining True Earth or becoming, looking deeper into it, they're like, I don't want to be associated with birds aren't real, right? Like, those dudes are cuckoo, right? So they have some sharp tactics, right? Like another example is they took the True Earth Society. It's not the society that Samuel Rowbotham started. It's a completely different society. It's a mockery. And another example is Nathan Thompson had the largest, he had a 250,000 member Facebook group. It was mushrooming. It was the biggest place. You could go there and discuss True Earth all day long. Well, Facebook shut it down, and then just let a group of Globies use the same name, and they started another group, and everyone jumped in that group thinking it was the same group, and all of a sudden it's one of the biggest Facebook groups, but it's just controlled opposition. And if you post anything there, you get mocked, right? So they took the success of Nathan's group and then stole the name, just like they did with the Flat Earth Society, right? And then made it a psyop, just made it a controlled opposition. So it's something they do all the time. They have these really ingenious ways to discredit us, and if you don't consider it.
Let's think of the acronym. Let's say 6 years ago, maybe. If you looked up BLM, what would you find?
Well,
Bureau of Land Management.
Matter, I don't know.
Yeah, Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah.
And you would see the standoff between the Bundy family protecting their land against these Bureau of Land Management people trying to take their land from them because of, for whatever reason, that was a standoff, a literal standoff, where American farmers, ranchers came to the front line with guns, with horses, with whatever country folk would gather. Like, everybody was standing that front line. They can't scrub that, but what we could do, like, what can we do? BLM, I got you now. You look now, and it's Black Lives Matter. They can't get rid of it, but they can sure substitute it.
Yeah.
Same thing
Yeah,
with
I
the
was
Flat
out
Earth,
in
like you were
Wyoming
saying.
working on BLM, and I always had to qualify that it was not that BLM.
Yeah, it's
I
like
had to talk to landowners to cross their land.
I feel like we're professional with Josh in here. Like, I just feel like, holy cow, we're like a
I'm working
serious
on the setup.
broadcasting. This is awesome, man. We got some serious voice creds going on, man. I think I need like a synthesizer to drop a couple octaves, then I'll be in the mix. It's great. What'd you start to say, Claw? Sorry about that.
I was just responding to and
There we go.
yeah, there's subjects like that.
Yeah, you went to super choppy again. I don't know if you want to drop and come back in again, but you're like, we're getting like a third.
Yeah, I was just saying. Can you hear me better?
It's still not that good. Still choppy. I'd say bad. Yeah, broken and garbled. That's what we're seeing. They're hearing the same thing in the chat. Someone brought up penguins in Antarctica. That's if anyone in here isn't familiar with the differences between the flora and fauna in Antarctica and the Arctic, like the Antarctic has no mammals and the Arctic has tons of mammals. It has foxes and moose and bears, and they have two completely different temperatures. One has tons of life. The Arctic has all kinds of life. It has, plants and bushes and trees. It has all kinds of, and then the Antarctic has none, and it has no mammals, but the Arctic has tons of mammals. And the Antarctic is way colder than the Arctic, and all that wouldn't be that way if we truly were at a 23.4 degree tilt, right? Because it'd be the same, just 6 months opposite. You should have the same exact stuff. And it's the same thing when you take the fact that we have two completely different flora and faunas, and you take the fact that Antarctica is the only piece of land that's unowned in the world, right? It's like none of this makes sense. And the most damning evidence for the globe is all the circumstantial evidence. All of the circumstantial evidence points to a flat Earth. Everything. When you take all the faked videos of the curvature and the fake videos of the 24-hour sun, the difference in flora and fauna, and the difference in temperatures, and the difference in there's just so many. You look at all the fake space stuff, and when you just add it all together, it's so easy to see it's a lie.
I was hung up on the star trails. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. Yours is better.
Oh, no, I was just looking at that, trying to figure that out. How can it be rotating down south? But I saw, who's the TikToker guy, Caleb?
Yeah.
He had an interesting one saying that they can't actually see the Southern Cross all night. I don't know if that's true.
Well, but you can see it for your night, but nighttime moves around the flat Earth. So those constellations at the southern would move as well, right? It's not a problem. Right. If that was a problem for me for a while until I visited Good Times for All, Zachary Zabala, and he uses what I call a hemispherical dome. It's just a half a glass,
right.
ball.
I saw that. Yep.
Yeah, and he shows the southern star trails. It's not a problem, and for anyone that goes, oh, that's different. That's a solid piece of glass. Well, you have to understand our hemispherical Earth or hemispherical atmosphere, what's encapsulated inside of a firmament, would act the same way because it's very rich in water and moisture. That's why they're always talking about, refraction, Snell's law, right? It's because it is a big lens. It would do the same thing. It's essentially a big lens. So everything we can observe in a glass hemispherical dome, or whatever you want to call that, I'm perfectly comfortable with that scientific explanation. I have no problems with it. So what Zachary Zabala was able to produce, on what I call on the micro, perfectly explains what we see on the macro. Everything is explained. Everything is reproducible.
Cool.
Yeah, that's.
I'll do a little more. It's starting to sink in for me.
Yeah,
I did find it interesting. You did that whole video on the Harley Antoy, and I started looking into him, and he tried another expedition, but 3 of his crew members and his other ship just disappeared. They found no wreckage or anything.
Yeah.
So
That's
be
what we're
careful with your
talking about,
Antarctica
Bobby.
trip.
Yeah, you gotta have a body double or something.
Yeah, no, there's some shady stuff that goes on, man. Like it's I would
Which
be
I,
seriously concerned for
mm,
my life if I did like this would be like if I did this, like let's say some millionaire said, "Yeah, we're going to make it happen, Bobby. We're going to make it
hmm
so you can go to Antarctica," right? Like I would do it, but I would be as edge as Jason Bourne theoretically is in the movie, right? Like you know,
yeah.
if you saw that movie, it's like that's how I would feel. I would be like, holy cow! I'd be like laid up against my bed with a gun, like you know, at the door, you know, in the cabin, right? Assuming I could take a gun, which you can't, but I'd have knives or whatever. Like I mean, I would seriously be in, you know, full Army Ranger mode, whatever you want to call it. I'd have every weapon at my disposal around me at all times, and like honestly,
You know,
go ahead.
you know how they have like two Air Force Ones and then two of the Beast limousines or whatever. So this way, there's the president's in one of them. You just don't know what. I feel like if you get an affirmative to go on one of these and they're like, hey, why don't you join us on our yacht? I'd be like, no, I'll sail my yacht right next to your yacht, but I don't really wish to gain the amenities that you're offering because it would be, remember those,
mRNA.
oh geez, it was one that, yeah. Like
Slip in your
one of
food.
the Elon Musk landings or something where they were showing some landing of one of the rockets or whatever, and it cut out for 10 seconds, and then when it came back on, it was on the on the boat, and everyone's like, come on, you cut out for 10 seconds, and they gave these reasons. I feel like even if you were monitored and we had 100 eyes on you, like, all right, we got your back, Bobby, like your signal would cut out and you come on like, where's Bobby, you know? Yeah, I would say you need to have two Air Force Ones if you go.
I I I'm not a big cloner guy, right? But it would not surprise me if they could clone us, right? Like that doesn't to me that doesn't seem like I mean, they were cloning sheep what 10, 20 years ago. I don't know the date, but it was a long time like right? They've been cloning I'm not big that rabbit hole doesn't concern me, but I mean, scientifically, we can clone one organic thing, right? So, I mean, if you can clone a sheep, how different is cloning a human, right? Like, and then how fast can you do that process? Like, you know, there's people out there that say that, what's his name? The black comedian that's hilarious, like one of the best comedians in the
Dave
world, Dave
Chappelle.
Chappelle.
Yeah.
There's people out there that swear that Dave Chappelle is cloned, right? Like, I'm not
I'm on
saying
that
he
boat.
is. Yeah, but I'm
Really?
not saying he's not. Like I just
It's interesting.
I'm not, but he was one person and then came back another. He was he like supposedly left and went to Africa and he was all like, "Get me the hell away from Hollywood. These people are you know crazy psychos." And then he came back and he was all part of the game, you know. And same thing with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was, "You're nuts if you think the moon landing happened." And then he's Mr. $200 million Spotify, and the moon landings never happened. And you're nuts if you think they did. It's like, uh, just
I personally am on the clone train. I think it falls into three categories. At first, I was like, nah, there's no way. But at this point, should we be surprised if we do a 180 flip when we're like, wait, hold up? But I think that there's the embryonic clones, just like when a woman gets gets her egg safe. So there's the embryonic clones, which explains a lot of people that lived 100 years ago, whatever, look exactly like our celebrities today. I mean, to me, there's that. And then there's the adult clones that is literally as an adult, which I believe does make sense why whenever a celebrity gets out of line, they go to rehab for 24 to 48 hours and come back with a completely different mindset. And then I also believe there's the synthetics, which are the mask, the robotoids, the same animatronics that have been going on at Disney for the last 50 years. You know, those I don't believe are human at all. Those are the ones that are glitching and get caught frozen and these things, and then they just snap back, or like one of their eyebrows will be completely raised while the other one's blinking for 10 minutes. Like, I don't think that's biological. But anyway, I do believe in the clones is the embryonic, which you were born and raised in the artificial womb or a surrogate. The adult one, we're like, oh crap, this celebrity's getting out of line. And the synthetics. I'm
yeah.
Like The
totally
Island.
on board with those.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
But here's what I'm saying is, I have it wouldn't surprise me a bit, right? Like I just haven't gone down those. I don't want to say I haven't gone down them. I watch whatever I can watch, right? Like it just seems like it doesn't make the difference that True Earth does, right? Like I guess that's why I'm just not as concerned with it, right? Like if I sold someone on clones, right? Like let's say I got invested in clones, like I got like, I started investing research into it and whatnot. It's not like you're going to change someone's reality with it. It might like maybe a little bit, like really, but True Earth, that's a game changer. That's a reality changer. Like, who your enemy is, right? Like all of a sudden it's like you could theoretically have either one or all three of those clones and think maybe it's, maybe there's like what's one of those companies in sci-fi, like Skytech or something, like maybe there's some rogue, Bill Gates has an industry or something, but man, for True Earth, you understand, man, like we're governed by, when you read in the Bible, it's the powers and principalities of darkness or what, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but, yeah, that's all true, right? Like this world is ruled. There's a ruler of this world. There's one dude in charge. And
it was Luke 4 where Satan took Jesus to the top of the mountain and offered him all the kingdoms.
Yeah.
I heard that from Bart Sabrell in his You Turned Me On to the Russian Vids, They Live Truth channel, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, in Russian Vids, where he excels, he's a true earther as well, but where he excels is in the dude knows symbology,
right,
and numerology, and I was missing all that. I was missing it until that dude, he has some videos that go down there. And once you start seeing all these bands and it just becomes crazy obvious, that they're telling you, right? What becomes obvious is that, there's revelation of the method, and they have absolved themselves of guilt by going, we showed you, we told you, you weren't looking, right? Like, what they do is they put it right. It's just like the Grammy. Take any award ceremony for Hollywood, and or take any Olympics. Take any major ceremony. They're all nothing but take even the CERN Institute opening. It's all satanic rituals, right? It's pagan rituals. Like they're not even hiding it, and all these people around the world are going, "Yay, science!"
It's coming.
It's a movie trailer.
It's crazy. And people
it's like
think
you
you're
watch
nuts.
the trailer of the movie.
Right.
Yeah. We've got a government organization opening a scientific institute, but we're opening with Shiva and people running around with horns and tails and, eating children. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's bounce some photons. What?
If you don't mind, I don't want to leap 2 feet down this rabbit trail, but what I guess it started based on you having some sort of body double security when you get invited to your island excursion. But to do the clone thing, I 100% believe in that biblically first, but I was like, I just don't get how it's going to be. But now the science was like, okay, the merging of the 10 toes and the statue of Nebuchadnezzar, it clearly says in the end times, their seed, so a separate entity, their seed will mix with the seed of humans. So there's 2 very clear things. And I heard someone that it was non-religious, but it was science, a scientist of some sort, but they said, we say that there's 7 billion people on the earth, but he's like, I don't think most of them are human. Like, oh, well, that's odd. Yeah, it makes sense. But imagine like the implications, like you were saying, and we all know it's the same puppet master pulling the little strings. The flat earth has its very own grouping of enemies, people that want to squash it down. And the clone thing, imagine the implications. Let's just go more domestic, right? Not elite government yet, but let's say domestic. Let's say there was a horrific crime, like a sexual assault on a woman, right? But it turns out that the perpetrator isn't fully human. It's a synthetic, a robot. I mean, just like, like at Disney or even at the Ark, right? The Noah's Ark thing, there's the animatronics that are, well, imagine if you get assaulted, robbed, murdered, raped by something that's not human. How's that going to work in a court of law, right? So now if we go
get
bigger,
Elon's chips.
Exactly.
No human rights.
Exactly. Right. Because
just
that
the mRNA.
completely, I mean, if you go to the police or one of the 3-letter agencies now with a horrific crime, they already laugh at you. And it makes sense because now imagine, I mean, some of these Biden, I use the word Biden loosely because I know half of those are not the same person or even human. You can tell by the way the feet walk, right? Nobody's Achilles tendons stay stiff like that. It's clear that that's a animatronic. So imagine if an executive order comes down from Biden and then you have this breaking thing where you go to the CIA, FBI, you're like, oh, well, I have this presidential order that this is illegal. Ha ha ha. That was made by a robot. This isn't even standing law. And so I believe these clone things make it so there's a washing away of all liability and any protection for us under Constitution or law, criminal court, any of these things when you start mixing in non-human or partial human things into our general population. And so, yeah, I think that definitely has big implications. And obviously, the lies of the earth, who controls the money, biology, and cloning, and all that stuff, it's coming to such a strong convergence where you are going to have to try to decide am I even defending myself against an actual biological, organic person when I'm having, when you defend your rights, I think.
I think
was that too much?
No, I love it.
Okay.
I love you're always welcome.
That's
to
where it's
rant on
headed.
here. Yeah. Well, and I think it's already happening, and it's going to become more and more prevalent to where it becomes the norm. Is people are going to have synthetic spouses, right? Like, and they're just they cook the dinner. I think they'll be at the point where they can eventually, for sure, they will be, because that's how science is going, right? Like we are advancing with electronics and with AI.
Like the Stepford wives.
Yeah, you're going to have. I mean, why have someone that argues with you when you can just have someone who never argues with you, that stays super hot? They're whatever. I say somebody fake, right? Like it's people are going to choose. I think that's going to happen. I think it's going to happen and then it's already happening now. People are taking like stiff dolls, right, and carting them around town, and like, this is my wife. We just got married. So why, even more so when one can walk around and fool people, right? When you don't, like, people got to ask, hey, is your wife a synth or is she legit?
Mm-hmm.
And pretty soon it won't even matter. Like, people won't even ask. It'll just be.
Or is that a natural baby or is it a designer baby? Was that baby born in your womb or the artificial cow uterus factory? There's a movie, The Boys from Brazil, I think it's from the 50s or 60s or something, that dives into that way ahead of its time, but now it's not ahead of its time. Yeah, you mix that with things like the Stepford wives and whatnot, and they've already sold us the commercial. We just haven't put our money down on buying the product yet.
Well, and CRISPR's already real. You can already modify your DNA if you wanted to. You can make yourself glow if you want to, right? Like you can absolutely change your DNA today. I mean, I don't know, I guess you're getting that stuff off the dark web, right? Like someone saying, hey man, for $500, I'll sell you a hack to make your gut get smaller, whatever. I mean, if you trust that, right? Like, okay, I'll just modify my DNA with some code I bought on the Silk Road or whatever. Holy cow. But yeah, absolutely. You're going to have, it's definitely coming where people are going to have synth partners. Assuming, I don't know that we're going to make it that long, right? I say the time's coming. The time would come. I should clarify. I don't think we'll get here. I don't think it'll get that far, right? Like,
not all of us.
Right. But I mean, theoretically, even if, even if there's, whether you believe in pre-trib or post-trib, let's say it's pre-trib, there's only 7 more years after that, right? Like, depending on where you put your pre-trib at. So yeah, I don't think,
I mean, whether you believe it or not, it's almost like you don't have to believe scripture at all, but when it comes to pass, you can say, oh yeah, okay, now I believe it because it came to pass. It's just we've got a heads up going forward. But there is a very specific verse that says that many will want to die, they'll try to die, and they
Yeah.
cannot. And you know that, of course, that has a spiritual nature, a demonic nature. But what if you are kept alive synthetically, partially? Like you're 3/4 human, but you got a synthetic whatever. If you want to die, you can't. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, this is off the subject, right? Totally, this is totally going off the rails. But real quickly, Jessica said Orphan Black was another. They took it off Netflix. There's a lot that give truth, but man, I remember like 4 years ago, I was on. I don't watch a lot of TV. I rarely do, but Tatiana Maslany in Orphan Black, she produced that. She acted in it, and this chick could play 8 different characters. She played a German. She played a Russian. I just thought that was one of the best shows. I would watch shows that were in line with truth in media, right? Like if it had truth in it, I could watch it, because honestly, I watch for that reason. Like I think they expose stuff, right? Like
Right.
Humans on Prime, on Amazon Prime. It's about synths, right? It's about every once in a while. Most times, sometimes I'll go months without watching a TV series or something like that. I'm usually studying stuff on YouTube at night, but yeah, that back when I was watching TV more, Orphan Black was the bomb. And now that's the lady that does She-Hulk, right?
I might have to check that out. Black Mirror was enough for me.
Yeah, Black Mirror was. I remember watching that too. That was real. They had some really good episodes.
Now it's hard for me to just watch any TV because it's all just programming in there. But I agree. It is fun to see a little bit of revelation if you can find it.
I think it might have been
wipe your brain.
It might have been as far as 2015, right? When I was watching Orphan Black, because up till True Earth, I lived a very boring life, right? Life wasn't fun until my whole life changed, and every day became exciting. People don't understand this. Like it changes your life. It's like your joy of living like magnifies so much. But up till 2015, all I did, man, at night, man, we'd go out to eat. This is my regular thing. Is I'd go out to eat at night. We'd go home and watch Walking Dead or Orphan Black, or it's like, whatever series, so many series, you'd be watching Game of Thrones. You'd be watching, that's all I did. I just watched TV. Right. And I just fed my brain garbage. And, yeah.
You know what that was? The divide is prior, you were a consumer. Post, you're a contributor. That's the difference.
Yeah, it was terrible. There was no meaning. It was a meaningless existence. The only remote meaning I got out of life was I was teaching people how to defend themselves, right? I was teaching jujitsu. That was a semi, that was the most gratifying part of my day, right? But yeah, life got so much better when the truth got shown to me.
What turned you on to it?
My mom, right?
Oh, that's
My
right.
mom,
I remember you saying that. That's awesome.
Good job, Mama.
Yeah. My mom turned me on to it. I thought she was going crazy, and it's crazy man. There are some stories I could share, but they're not mine to share about other people, right? But it's just crazy to think that we can be locked up for this, or have our kids taken away for this, or having, we can't speak. Some people can't speak freely about this, right? It can be used against them. Your job can be taken away from you, like many people have. You can be threatened. Plenty of flat earthers get death threats, right? And they get, why can't we just be left alone on this? Like what,
because we're dangerous.
We're dangerous. That's absolutely
for what?
Right.
Talking, thinking.
Yeah. Believing the earth is flat. That's dangerous. Right. And if it were so dangerous, right. If here Congress is saying, what are you doing to stop people from thinking the earth is flat? And you got President, Obama multiple times. We don't have time to talk about flat earth. You're talking about flat earth right now. What are you talking about? We don't have time to talk about it. We done talked about it like 10 times. And this time we could already talked about it. So if it were really that much of an issue, they'd take like the top 5 channels, fly them to Antarctica and set them up and go, here's this,
Right.
film it all day long. There's a 24-hour sun, but you can't do that because it doesn't exist, right? That's why you can't do it. And if it could be done, you wouldn't have all these fake videos. And it's all, I know it's very circular and there's no new arguments, but it's so
And
obvious.
if you think of the spoiledness of rich elite, whatever your level of rich is, but we're talking about the people that can just snap their fingers and buy whatever they want, right? Because they've got the backing of whatever chain of other elites, right? There's nothing that they've put their eyes upon that they don't feel that they're entitled to indulge in, whether it be product,
Children?
or private jet, children, any sexual thing. There's nothing that they say like, oh, that's too much indulgence for me, right? So what's the likelihood that you can have something as elusive and as exclusive with such high notoriety, such as like, there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, nobody else can afford to get there? Wouldn't you have the entire richest people like doing the Instagram selfie, like, look at me, I'm at the 24-hour sun, blah, blah, right? That would be the pinnacle of, I'm an elite, I can do stuff that you can't. But since not even one, or whatever it is, whatever would prove that all of our claims of like, you can't go there, this is off limits, that's the first place the richest of the rich would go, just to rub it in our faces that we're peasants and they're amazing. So the fact that you don't see any rich people, supermodels with a polar bear fur coat, be like, look at me, I'm rich enough that I can go to this place that nobody else can go. Nobody's done that. Are we to believe that their level of self-indulgence cuts off there? Like, we'll be cannibalistic, but we're not going to go to Antarctica. That's too indulgent for me. Like, there's not, they're so entitled that they would go there first.
Yeah, let me answer this. Midnight Munchie said a 24-hour sun would prove nothing either way. Where are you at? Here's my thinking on the 24-hour sun, right? We're right now, the way I believe God architected this world, everything right now is understandable through science. Like, he basically created a world that we actually can explain with science zetetically, right? Like, everything works, and we can, even flat earthers come up with different science, but it's still science. And we say, yeah, this works. We can replicate this. See, here it works scientifically. A 24-hour sun in the Antarctic does not work scientifically, right? Like, what that would do. And let me explain. If you could see the sun doing circles around you in the Antarctic, there's no map that can correlate to what you would see living in South America that would map to North America, that would map to the center. In other words, someone in South America and Central America would see the sun midday, and then someone living a little bit north would see it going further, but someone in the south would see it looping around. It's like the sun would have to diverge, right? You would have to, because the people more north don't see a 24-hour sun, yet they see the same sun. We know that at a certain point in the day. So if there were a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, there's no scientific explanation. You couldn't convince me that there were a scientific explanation. Now you would defy the laws of science, which that's possible, but you'd have to be a true earther who now says, well, if there were actually a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, you have to say God can do anything he wants, which he can. I'm down with that. But my paradigm would change. I believe God created a world that, and I believe he did it on purpose. I believe he created a world that speaks, that is a testament to his creating of it. And he wouldn't have done that. Now, I could be wrong. I'm just saying right now, so far, everything, yeah, and nothing defies science, but an object turning into two objects, and with one becoming invisible and then coming back around and remerging together, which is what would have to happen. That right there would be a very different paradigm and a very different belief system. And honestly, if that happened, which I don't believe, like, I'm certain, I would bet any odd. I mean, I know it doesn't happen because they fake videos of an Antarctic sun. Like, it's been proven like 40 times, right? At least 20, somewhere between 20 and 40. I think more than 30. I haven't counted them all yet, but quite a bit. So there's all these videos up there that shouldn't exist. So I'm extremely confident. I have supreme confidence that there is no 24-hour Antarctic sun. But if there were, I would still believe, I'd still know there's a creator. I have no problem with that, right? I've seen too much, but I know there's not one.
Right.
Yeah. But
yeah, once you've seen all this, you just know you have whatever question Globies like to ask. It's because they haven't looked and seen hundreds of things that show you something true.
Yeah, it's like people want to argue one argument, right? I brought a guy over to my house who's an extreme. Oh man, I don't like cussing. Anyway, he's a friend, but as my mentality changed, he started being a troll, right? Well, I said, dude, just come over to my house and let me show you. Just come over and let me show you. Now, I said, just give me a day so I can fly through all the arguments, right? So he comes over and we started with one argument. I don't remember what it was. And he wouldn't leave the argument. He just kept going, no, science works like that. And I kept saying, no, I know that. I said, like, but look at it this way and let's move to the next. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. This is how it works. And I'm like, yeah, I know science teaches that, but that's not what we're saying. But entertain this and let me go. No, you can't. That's not how it works. See? And I just said, dude, I'm done. Forget it. Don't worry about it. Like, keep the globe. Some people won't even entertain. You have to look at all the arguments across the board, every single one.
Right.
Apply Occam's razor, and then just look at all the stuff that there's arguments that the globe Earth doesn't even have explanations for. Like, why is there no video of us going through the airlock? No explanation. Why is there no forward-facing rocket? No explanation. Why is there no real video showing the curve? Why are they all faked on PBS and National Graphic? Clearly, no explanation. Why are they all fake? There's all these non-explanations. Why are you faking vacuum chamber tests? Clearly, no explanation. So
there's, when people like your ex and someone else equally disgusting get together, and you're like, in your mind, you deserve each other. I think at that point, you can say to someone who's unwilling to look at information, like, you and the globe deserve each other, and just let them marry matrimony into that. Hey, Bobby and Josh, I got to head out because I have no social life, but it's still one is calling me, so I'm gonna head out.
That's it. Head out as soon as I get in.
Well, it's like you're handing off. It's a tag out.
I'm handing
That's
off.
cool.
You're the anchor leg of the relay, Stuart.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. I was out in the car and I'm only just throwing myself on my laptop at the moment. So,
okay, you're in the car on your laptop right now.
Sorry, yeah, I'm in the bedroom actually on my laptop. So,
okay. All right. Yeah, I'd sent you a notice yesterday. I don't know. I sent you the link prior, but all right. No worries.
You didn't. There's been no link sent through like you would normally do on Facebook.
I thought I did. So if I didn't, I apologize. But I did invite you all. I invited you. No, so I didn't send the link. But I said yesterday you were
yeah.
gonna do it.
Yeah. No, sorry. I've been otherwise engaged today. I was out in the car, mate, and I realised and I thought, sort of like, but I didn't even, like I say, I would normally know because I'd get a ping on my Facebook with a link. But not a problem, mate. Sorry. I've just jumped in. I don't know what the general topic is tonight, but
no topic. You know us. This is a round table. We'll talk about whatever. Here's one that came up that caught my eye. At Publius said, Mr. Beast used to be a devout Christian. It was all over his socials, not anymore. That guy's got like a stupid amount of subscribers, possibly the most amount on YouTube. It was like 130 million or something ridiculous. I don't know, some ridiculous number. Don't quote me on that number. I've got a fuzzy memory, but what I wonder is, like, let's say he was a Christian. I don't know, give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say, what do they tell people to cross them over, right? Like what, I'd love to be a fly in the wall to hear, what's the sales pitch? Because, the elites are clearly crossed over, and they're rewarded very well for their crossing over. And what are they being told? You know, like
Keys to the kingdom.
yeah, man. Forget the Bible, man. We totally smash God when he comes down. We got Freddie over here, and we got Jim Bob. Look at them, dude. They're on roids.
They think they're going to win.
Yeah, it's like, what? I mean, is that what they're telling them? It's like, dude, no, yeah, God didn't expect steroids, man. We're all roided out, bro. Well, I don't know. What is it? What are they telling them that's convincing Christians? Or I'm assuming they were real Christians, right? Like, I have no idea. You'd have a hard
I mean, he
time.
could have always genuinely fallen away too, but it's suspicious that you get that big of a following and success on that level without something going on.
Yeah. 136 million subs, right? That's crazy. Because at 100,000 subs, you got a pretty good life. I think. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that at 100,000 subs, you can actually make a little income, right? You can make a little living off that. So 136 million, crazy.
Good luck with this topic.
Yeah, it's never going to happen, right? Like, if I were trying to make money on this, I'd be jujitsu channels or something. You know, there's a million IT, whatever, but money has never been a thought for me ever. Yeah. But I think the most successful True Earth channel I've seen that started as a True Earth channel, right, is ODD TV. He has 300,000 subs. Now you've had T-Pain just came out, someone said. So you've had some people who.
Oh, really?
That's at B.O.B., right? This is after they were famous, right? And then they converted to True Earthers, but they're not out there dropping knowledge videos on the daily, right? They just kind of came out and said, I believe the earth is flat.
Cool.
But yeah, as far as people out there just dropping True Earth knowledge, but ODD TV doesn't just do True Earth as well. So I think that's why they kind of ungated him a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. Like, if you take someone like DITRH, he doesn't even have 100,000, right? He's under.
Well, plus
100,000.
didn't they gain most of their following before it started being suppressed?
Yeah. Yeah.
I missed the whole wave. It's been hard to find stuff.
Yeah, there's still some great content out there. One thing I do is when I'm looking at good channels, I look at their channels. They have a channel page, and that's where that's how I've continued to locate new channels. There's some good ones out there, man. There are really some good channels that have like 5,000-10,000 subs. I still come across them. I still find new ones, right? And I'm like, holy cow, how have I been sleeping on this one?
Yep.
You know, there's some really good ones out there. I still find more every day. I'm just trying to catch up on the comments real quick.
Signals, I can't find her. She's supposed to be the one getting them to work.
We hear your TV there, Stuart. I don't know if you're going to say something, but we. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my laptop, it picks up everything. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
No problem.
Nothing new. All right. So I've got nothing new. Unless someone has some questions or a topic to talk about, we can start looking at wrapping up. I usually wrap up around 2 hours, and we're at 2 hours. But Zetetic Warrior, yeah, he's on Melodome from time. I don't know about all the time or whatnot, but I've seen him on there a few times. I watch all these guys. I try to learn from everyone's. I try to give everyone a chance, right? If they're preaching truth, I support them. So shout out to Zetetic Warrior. If you have a truth channel and a True Earth channel, I'm definitely going to give you a shout out, and I'm definitely going to support you. Says Bobby, are you open to talking on non-True Earth related podcasts? I mean, I'll talk on any podcast. I don't care. I'll talk about what I consider truth. I'm not scared of anything. I'm not looking to debate anyone, right? Like I don't consider myself a great debater, right? Like
Leave that to Weiss.
Yeah, we got plenty of people. It doesn't need me, right? Like, why? I wouldn't do as good a job. I mean, I know I've watched Witsit debate, and he would do a better job than me. So why should I throw my hat in the ring when I'm not going to do it as good a justice? I say let him lead the rally right now. He's doing just fine. I don't disagree with anything he's saying. He's a Christian. And there's plenty of people. Look, I don't hate on people that aren't Christians, right? I could hang out with them. I can kick it with them. We can talk True Earth. We can talk jujitsu. We can talk whatever. I'm a Christian. That's where my journey took me. But I believe in God, the Creator God. But there's lots of, I still to this day, I give credit to all the OGs, man, all of them, Eric Dubay and Jaron and David Weiss and ODD TV, Celebrate Truth, all them OGs that have been putting it down for 7-8 years now, for sure. Hey, someone said I'm not a cultist. Thank you. That is a very nice thing to say, right? I'd like to think I'm not a cultist. I try not to be. Thank you. That's one I'd hang on my wall. I'd print that out and frame it. As far as like someone said, debating, it's not that I think I couldn't. It's that there's people that are better than me. I don't need to. I'm not like, just debating's not my thing. I think it brings out a bad side of you. I don't think people win debates. I think it's better to just drop videos, right? Like instead of listening to people debate, I think it's my time's better spent dropping videos.
Yeah, I don't want to hear people call each other idiots or try to prove that they can't think or you don't understand over and over. I want to hear the details. Show me the facts. If a debate was more like that, okay.
Exactly. You never even see them consider each other's points. It's just like waiting and gritting their teeth for to throw out their trump card. It's like, man, it's not. I've listened to Witsit said, and he said, I don't do it. You don't win a debate. He says, I do it for the people that are watching. That
right.
Maybe some people cross, and I agree with that. Maybe that but my forte, if I could say that, would be I'd just rather make videos and put my little twist on them. I think we all have different traits that different people gravitate to. So some people might resonate with me, and I think that's cool. Oh yeah, Mark Sargent, how'd I leave him off? Yeah. I mean, there's several I've left off, right? Yeah, no disrespect at all. I was watching his channel just the other day. That's how I came across the Lydia. I don't know if I'd seen that before, honestly. I may have or may have not, but I've watched so much of his stuff, and his to this day, his Flat Earth Clues is one of the best series that are out there. So Sim Claw, I guess you're Dutch. I think that's I study languages as a pastime. I think I put it out there before. If anyone wanted to kind of follow me or kind of be friends in Duolingo, I study 15 languages or something like that. I'm not good at it. I kind of have some basics in a lot of them, but some of them I'm pretty far along. Some I'm not. Dutch is one that I study fairly regularly. I can't. If I listen to it, I understand a lot of it, but I don't. I couldn't have a conversation in it.
Yeah, I love Skiba. I know Russian Vids was talking about the Freemason connection, but he seemed pretty genuine to me.
Yeah.
And like Midnight says here, gave his life for it.
Yep. All right. De aarde is plat. The earth is flat. Yeah. Spreek je NL? Do you speak Netherlands? Yeah. Like it's close enough to German, right? Like my German vocabulary is pretty good. I spent 4 years living with my wife, who is German at the time, and we only spoke German. That's it. So, and I took German in college, and I studied for it for jobs. And I interviewed in German in Germany, and they were like, "Oh yeah, your German's just fine," but it's rusty right now. But I would love to do it. I'd love to I'd love to do a German one. I might do that. That might be in the future as a German podcast, a German stream.
I don't have a YouTube channel yet. I've got some music on SoundCloud I've been working on. It's really rough right now, but I'm probably going to start a YouTube. Answer in midnight.
Yeah, anytime you get one, come on, share it. Type in the link if you want to share it. Any links you want to share, just type them in there, Josh. I support anyone that supports True Earth. Do I think True Earth is still growing? Absolutely, absolutely, it is. Yeah, people are waking up every day. Well, I mean, you don't go back, right? Like people are waking up, and you just don't go back. Yeah, people are waking up faster than the death rate for sure. So it is absolutely growing. Those numbers, we don't know what those numbers are. They wouldn't tell us the truth. I heard a NASA astronomer, right? She was one of the top 10 links, or maybe top 20. I'll say that. So maybe in the top 20. I was just looking at for flat Earth, debunked or whatever. I was just doing the top search on YouTube. But one of them was a NASA astronomer. And she said she had heard, this was right in her opening. She said, I had heard that between 20 and 50% of the people were flat earthers. That's her words. I can clip that today. That's her words.
I think I heard that somewhere.
Not mine, her words. I heard Joe Rogan say, I want to say he said 36%, like more than a third, more than 1 out of 3. I think a lot of people are silent on it.
Yeah.
And the lowest number I've seen was, they said that 7% of Brazil was flat earthers, which equated to like 11 million people. So on the low end, 7%, and on the high end, 50%. And so something like 1 out of 4. Someone said, clip it. I'll clip it. Yeah, no problem. I'll share it on the channel. Yeah. All right. If no one's got anything, anyone got anything to add before we sign off here? I don't. Earth is flat. What if? I'm just reading the last few comments before we sign off. I think we put down 2 hours and 11 minutes. I'm good with that.
Good to finally talk to you. I'll try to get on a little earlier now that I got the equipment figured out.
Yeah. What do you think it was? I'm curious.
Oh, me? I was on the home internet instead of the Starlink, so I just got that set up.
Nice.
Which I'm pretty sure it just points at towers.
That wouldn't surprise me, right? Or even possibly a mixture, like some people.
Or like you said, the Google loons. That's what I've thought.
Yeah. I think that some people may hit loons, right? Saddle loons, whatever you want to call them. But if you're near enough to a cell tower, they would give you that signal and let you think it's satellite, just to sell the illusion, right? Just to.
They even say that they do it off the ground-based thing. When they were rolling it out, it wasn't going to be connected enough. I got it before I knew about this, or I wouldn't have got it.
Yeah.
But it works for traveling.
Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as it works. I don't.
I did see, like Angelica said, saw the satellites going across the sky, 50 of them, and they're way too close. They're lit, and they shouldn't be from where the sun was at when I saw them, but just interesting.
What is that? Is that like a launch, or what, like, I mean, why would you have 50? Like, why would you even have a chain of,
Yeah,
so what would be the point of that?
It's when they launch them, and they're supposed to use their ion thrusters to separate and get into the array correctly, but it makes no sense. They have no fuel. I think they're using argon or something, and it's like how the SpaceX rockets land. They're steering off of these little,
Oh yeah, the grids,
teeny
right?
little wings.
Yeah,
pretty weird.
Yeah, but the technology they used to show that is no different than what they had in the 50s, right? Like they have a 50s video of them landing side by side. They look identical. I love how you can land a toothpick too. Just afraid that. All right. Yeah, let's wrap it up, guys. We did. Joss, enjoyed having you on, man. Drop in again.
You too.
Shoot me. Yeah, you're in my. We're in Facebook.
We're
right?
friends. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. I just wasn't sure it was the same person or.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, man. Enjoyed having you on, man.
Yeah, good talking to you. Finally, I love the show. I binged everything.
Cool. Well, we'll do this again. Thanks everyone for joining. Until next time. Take care.
Take it easy, guys.